I'd like to end out our show with a rest in power, and it's for Tim McCarver. For those, a lot of people these days know Tim McCarver as a announcer, broadcaster, and actually he was a pretty decent catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, the Philadelphia Phillies, the Montreal Expos. He spent some time with the Red Sox as well. He actually was 3 times with the Cardinals from 59 to 61, 63 to 69, and from 73 to 74. He used to be Bob Gibson's catcher, and also when he was with Philadelphia, he was Steve Carlton's catcher as well. Actually, Steve Carlton was also on the Cardinals as well during one of his stints. He was a 2-time All-Star, 66 and 67, 2-time World Series champion. He's in the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame. When he was with the Phillies, he actually caught Rick Wise's no-hitter in 1971. He also had he caught Bill Stoneman's second of 2 career no-hitter. So he's pretty solid catcher. Didn't have quite the numbers. He was a 271 lifetime hitter, only 97 home runs, 645 runs batted in. He actually I was telling you that he won 2 championships. He actually ended 1980. He actually played a few games at the beginning of the season for the Phillies, and he would have won a 3rd championship, but he didn't play that long enough to get that credit. But he actually right after that started broadcasting, became a broadcaster for ABC with Don Drysdale, did Monday Night Baseball. And then, did his first World Series in '85 as a last-minute replacement for Howard Cosell. So, yeah, so he's and actually he actually had some controversial moments too. Does anybody know any of his controversial moments?
I do not.
He was actually very critical of Deion Sanders playing when he was. Remember, we talked about when he was going to play baseball. He was going to play a football game, but then come to the playoff game. He was actually very critical of that. When the Braves advanced, he actually poured water all over McCarver in the locker room and stuff like that. So it's like it was. Wow. Yeah, and he had some other controversial moments. I loved Tim McCarver. I thought he was a really great broadcaster, but it seems like these days broadcasters, I'm not sure, because they do so many games and they're always like the high profile games and stuff like that. I think that they have a lot of scrutiny. I think like Joe Buck gets this a lot. He's always there, and people just he's there so long, and when something goes against their team, like he's seen as the person that's kind of gloating or celebrating, or I'm not sure. It's like it's kind of hard to be an announcer these days. But I always thought he was great. He actually retired from national broadcasting. Actually went back to St. Louis and was doing some regional broadcasting. There was some talk that he was going to come back because there's a Cardinals broadcaster. Unfortunately, he has, let's just say he has problems, and he got his 3rd strike, let's just say. But he was teamed with his name was Dan McLaughlin, and he was great with him, and I thought they paired each other really nice. But he actually retired due to health problems in 2022. So. He was great. Anybody else remember him?
Well, you can also mention that you can call him the Hall of Famer for his time as a broadcaster, because he is a recipient of, I'm sorry to say his name, Jack, the Ford C. Frick Award, which they give to a broadcaster, to be recognized as more or less a Hall of Famer. They do one of those, I believe, every year.
Yeah.
That name on, Jack. Don't get all offended, all right?
I'm offended. I'm triggered, dude.
I know.
So do you think that like announcers, they've kind of fallen off? You don't have like the regional announcers because baseball's become so national. I mean, you don't have like the Harry Carey and the Tim McCarver. We don't have a broadcaster that I know of here at the Diamondbacks, or it's becoming more homogenized. It used to be kind of regional, right? Is that part of it?
Yeah, and also like these announcers, they'll like do like the game, the higher profile games, like him. And I'm trying to remember who else he was with, but they would always do the big broadcast, right? So they always are seen like that. Like it's like the Super Bowl, like whenever CB is on there, yeah, there's just seen as like that person is like, oh, I remember when Brent Musburger, I remember like when I was growing up, Brent Musburger was like a guy who people didn't like him only because they're like, oh, he never says anything nice about my team or whatever. I'm just like, he's supposed to like, I don't know. They're supposed to be kind of neutral, but they're supposed to also like, hype up the exciting things of the game. So they're kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah. And that's why Tim's so well known, because he was on a national platform for such a long time, I believe, just doing Fox, like playoff games and all that, you're so heavily featured, people knew that voice. I mean, if you go to the chat, I saw what Dutch is saying. It's like, yeah, his voice is one of the voices of baseball for sure in the last like 20, 30 years, because it's definitely changed over the years, because back in the day you would have like in LA, we had Vince Scully for the Dodgers, and you're not going to have anything like this anymore, because if someone gets too good, a network's definitely going to snatch the guy and take him. The era of a local broadcaster most likely being on 25, 30 years is not really going to be a thing anymore. And you can say that for every sport, probably.
Sure.
Except for like a major market, because LA had announcers that were around for decades, and New York, I believe, as well.
Oh, that's interesting. We had Tom Grieve for the Rangers. Yeah, see, like whenever there's home, you always have that home. I said I know all the voices. When I listen on radio and TV and stuff like that. So one of Tim McCarver's somebody criticized him one time this way. They said when you ask him the time, he'll tell you how a watch works.
Like a good broadcaster should.
Exactly. I mean these games go long. You gotta like vamp.
So also like people would listen to baseball games on the radio. That's probably not happening a lot these days. I mean, you could watch it on your phone. So the audio aspect isn't as important now. I mean,
it's going to depend on what market you're in. I mean, there's still like, if you have like Sirius, they still have like, you can get almost every single game on like a Sirius XM channel. Or I believe there's an MLB package where you can get any radio broadcast. You
can, and they sometimes they'll have different ones. Like they'll have like alternate ones as well. So
the home team, the Spanish team, the away, home away, and all that. It's like, oh, that's cool, And it's at least that way you get every game as opposed to the the MLB package where you won't get your local team most likely.
Yeah, and he brings up a really good point here. The beauty of baseball, the games can go definitely long, and it's like you have to vamp and just keep telling stories. That's why Vince Scully was so amazing. He just tells stories, during the whole thing, and that's a great point. So he was a 3-time Sports Emmy Award winner, as you mentioned, a 2012 Ford C. Frick Award winner. So he's in the Hall of Fame. But did you know this? Did you know this? Do you know what this is?
It looks like a really bad neighborhood karaoke.
He's actually in the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
So for those who don't know, and this is if COVID took away one business, it's one business too much, but it actually killed this. This is Foley's in New York. So the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame was in the back of this pub, and it's no longer there. It's actually, I think it's right across the street from like the Empire State Building, if I'm not mistaken. And I always wanted to go here, and this place looks awesome. And I love that it says you can't sing Danny Boy there, which is a nice little touch. But
yes.
But yes,
but the pub's still open. Is that correct?
It says permanently closed. I think that it's shut down. It's and actually on their Twitter it says we used to sell beer, or we used to, or something like that. Yeah, so I think it is gone.
I didn't know about that. I did not know about that place. Otherwise, I would have stopped by there for sure.
Yeah, I was so hyped out. I'm like, oh, what is this? I got to go see this, and then it's no longer there anymore.
Oh, that's too bad.
So unfortunately, but Tim McCarver, rest in power. Definitely, we'll definitely miss you. And so I definitely want to celebrate it. It's one of the worst segments we do, but sometimes one of the most fulfilling that we get to talk about the great people in baseball.